16th, beginning at 4:30 p.m., excuse me. At this time, can we please have the roll?
Councilmember Johnstone? Here. Councilmember Riggs? Here. Councilmember Thompson?
Here.
Councilmember Goodson?
Here.
Councilmember Weber?
Here.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Present.
And currently I show Mayor Pittman as absent.
Is he on Zoom?
Let me take a look here.
The attorney will address that in just a moment. Yeah. So,
But just for the purpose of the roll.
of course, we did not have closed session today. So there'll be, obviously, there's no announcements. And at this time, I'd like to go ahead and do the pledge. So let's stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, our attorney has an announcement.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The mayor has taken ill and has a fever, and as you will recall, AB 2449 was modified the Brown Act so that it would allow for attendance, for remote attendance of someone who was ill or taking care of someone who was ill to attend. So I'd like to read this item. It's a two-step process. One is to consider adding the item to the agenda, and the second item would be to consider allowing remote attendance of the mayor at this meeting. So let me read this first piece. The following item came to the attention of city staff subsequent to the posting of the agenda for this January 16, 2024 meeting. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, staff is requesting the council take action to add this item to the agenda. And the item would be added, we propose that the agenda be amended to add item 2.5 at the beginning as follows. Pursuant to the Brown Act as amended by AB 2449, the council will consider approving the emergency circumstances for one council member to attend this meeting virtually.
Okay.
So again, a two-step process. The first one is to add the item to the agenda, and that requires a supermajority vote. The second item, once we get to it, which will be actually after this, would be to then voting on whether or not Mayor Pittman can attend.
Can I have
So this is just to add the item to the agenda.
So do I have a motion to add the item to the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right, vote.
Motion passes with 6 yeses.
Okay, subsequent, we need then a motion to add
So now
Mayor
item
Pittman.
2.5 has been added. Now for your consideration, would you like to approve the emergency circumstances? Mayor Pittman did call in saying that he was ill, but still felt well enough to attend, just not attend in person. And you know, I appreciate that he feels well enough to attend, but doesn't want to infect everybody. So.
Super. So do I have a motion to
So moved.
second?
Second.
All right, vote.
Jinx. No. Motion
Okay.
passes with 6 yeses.
And Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Vice Mayor, as you know, you'll be conducting the meeting. The mayor will participate remotely. All votes do need to be verbal now because, again, well, you can all vote using the machine, but we'll need to take his vote verbally because he won't be able to push the button.
Okay, great. Well, welcome, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad to have you here, and we trust that you will be on the mend soon.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the vice mayor for chairing the meeting.
Yes. And so you're in good company. Last week I had my challenge, so I'm glad to be doing much better. All right, at this time, we have some presentations. And so, Mr. Ring,
Did we adopt the agenda?
excuse me, adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second? All right, vote.
And Mayor Pittman on that item.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
You might want to mute the mayor's microphone. We hear the pup and maybe a parrot or something. So. All right.
Now, Kayla, if it matters, if it makes a difference to you, if it'd be easier for you, once the mayor votes, you can mark it as, I don't know if you keep it electronically or not, but if you do, you can just hit the button for him. But whatever's easiest for you.
I haven't quite learned that part of it.
I can hit it over here.
Okay, moving right along. Yeah, presentations. Mr. Ring.
Yes, and I just was informed our second presentation, we might have to delay it due to the individuals presenting, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The first one, I know, I'm going to turn it over to Ruth.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm so excited to roll out a new option for us to be transparent with our citizens. Can you not hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, I'll get closer. So the city has been working with Charlie Francis, a retired finance director, and he is CEO of the Virtual Gov. He created this model for us in order to be transparent and meet our needs, which is much better than the one that we're using right now, ClearGov. So I'm excited to let you know that it's going to automatically update nightly. So anytime you log in, you'll be seeing information, very, very current information. I asked him on the side, I said, hey, can you get us a check register too? It took him like 15 minutes and he made a check register. So if you want to look at our check register, it's really a cool model. I really think that this might be something our department heads use instead of logging into our finance software and looking at their budgets. I really feel like this might be easier for them to just go to their budgets. We can make them an app and it could be bookmarked for their department, and they can log right in and they can see their budget just like that. Mm-hmm. You could see checks written. They can see if the check that they are expecting to go out, they can see that it went out, they can see the date. So I have Charlie on the line and he's going to demo this model for you.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Ruth, and good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for that kind introduction, Ruth. I am a retired city finance director. Well, I kind of failed retirement. Here I am working on a consulting basis. I also work with PARS, Public Agency Retirement Services, of which you are also one of their clients. So we have a couple of close relationships here. Not only am I a former finance director, but I'm also a very enthusiastic techie. I really have one of the high marks of my career was how can I use technology to automate as many business processes and reporting as I can to free up my time to use technology to get those data and evidence to support robust policy decisions. And one of those policy decisions actually was being the first city in the nation to adopt a Section 115 trust for pension pre-funding, something I think that you're also doing through PARS. So with that as an introduction, I want to just come over here to this model and say that when Power BI first came out, I was intrigued because I was using and paying a very expensive subscription service to have a transparency tool and a data analytical tool. And when Power BI came out, I said, well, this is something that we can do ourselves as finance directors. So I developed this template here, and Ruth kind of liked it. And so now here we are with a presentation to you. So this is a model, and the purpose of the model, number one, is transparency. But more important, it's a business analytical model that allows you to get data for strategic decision making so that we're more efficient, we're more effective in our financial management. So let me give you a quick overview of what we have here. I'm going to annotate that this part is the basis of the model. And over here, we have the pages in the model.
It says that it's waiting for you to control the screen. So is there something you need to do? Are you controlling my screen? Okay. Never mind, sorry.
I will be.
Okay.
Are you seeing the little red boxes? Yeah.
Yes, okay, sorry.
Okay, good. All right. So, and right here, the very first page is a summary page that we see over here. This is just an overall, here's your revenues, here's your expenses, and right here's a visualization of your surplus and deficit as of this morning when we updated the model. Now, as the years go by, we'll have more bars and graphs, one for every year. And then this box here is called a slicer. And within this box, we're able to drill into it and actually say, okay, let's just look at the 1% district tax, how much revenue we've collected to date, and what our expenses are. And you notice that when I clicked into this fund, the surplus deficit changed over here. If we came over and wanted to look at your all of your enterprise funds together, we could just click on that. Here's our surplus deficit in there. So it's like quick information. At a glance, I'm able to answer questions that may come from the city council or from the city manager.
I have a
I
quick
got to
question.
come back.
Just a moment, Councilwoman Goodson has a question.
Question.
Okay.
You said you're able to access and pull up quick data. So you can break that down by month, right? If we pulled a certain month that it seemed to have an exorbitant amount of expense, like code enforcement department, you can pull that up,
Yes.
right? Okay, thank you.
We sure can, and I'll demo that to you in a second. Ruth, can you get me back to the page? I accidentally clicked out of it. There. Oh, this. Oh. Let me. Where's your bookmark?
Right there.
Oh, here. There we go. Okay. I apologize for clicking out of there. Yeah, so this was just the summary page, council member. Now we're going to come down into the different reports. This is where the detailed analytics is. So this first one is a typical budget to actual report that's coming from your chart of accounts out of your system. The first column is your adopted budget. Second column is the amended budget, changes that you've made throughout the year. And this is the current budget. In other words, 12 months divided by the current month. And so we can then say, here's our actual year to date versus our budget. Here's our current variance. And then we can look at the variance to the total budget. And when we start populating future years, we'll be able to look at how that compares to the prior year. So, and I've organized this based on your chart of accounts to say, here's our general fund and our function general that has these revenues and these expenses. And at any point in time, you can expand these one at a time to go into the categories, or we can just come up here and expand to the next level for all categories as we come down here. Any visualization in this report can be shown as a table, or we can export the data to an Excel spreadsheet so further analysis can be done on it. I want to get into answering your question. So here's the revenues by department and expenses by department. So we're looking at all funds, all functions, and all departments. But if we just wanted to come in and look at, say, the city clerk department, now we're looking at, here's the amended budget, here's the incremental actual that was experienced in expenses each month. This is the cumulative actual, and the variance percentage. So this graph is the cumulative, and this graph is the incremental. And as we're looking at this, we see, wow, October, 18,000. What did we spend that 18,000 on? Well, we can right click on it, drill through, and quickly see the transactions that total that 18,000 for the city clerk department for just that month. And then we can, if we wanted to sort it by amount and look for large amounts, boom, we say, oh, we had 9,591 for software expense. Well, who did we pay that to? You go right to the vendor and actually see the vendor was for next request. So that's how quickly you can get to information and answer questions that are in the model. I used this very robustly when I was with the city of Sausalito. For example, one day a citizen came up and said, "Oh, our pension expenses are $5 million a year. They're way out of hand, and the city's mismanaging their pension expenses." Well, the mayor just said, "Charlie, can you just come up to the podium and actually show what our pension expenses actually were?" So we can come into this visualization right here and come over to the filters. And if I go into the object name and type in, say, PERS, now we're going to look at, here's our employee normal cost, here's our unfunded liability, here's our pension obligation bond and survivor's benefit, and quickly be able to say, well, our budget for pension expenses is only 2.7 million. And with year to date, we've spent 1.1 million. Boom, go back to the meeting. So in other words, I was always wanted a tool that I could refer to at a moment's notice and not have to say to a citizen, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. Rather, I could go click, click, click within the software, quickly answer the question, and then, bring the meeting back on point to what it means. So as we come back to this expenses by department, all of these can be bookmarked. So the police chief can actually then be able to say, oh, I want to look at my police budget, either combined for the two departments or just for the one department on hand, and be able to quickly see my budget was 9 million. I've spent 3 million. I've got 5 million left. And if I said, oh, why was it so high for 674? Again, you can drill through down to the transactions or to the vendor. I'm going to pause and see if the council has any other questions at this point.
So far, so good.
Looks good. Reminds me of
Okay.
QuickBooks a little bit.
Yes, yeah.
So there's only there's only two
So what we have
breakdowns,
here is the ability. Oh, I'm
transactions.
sorry. Did I interrupted?
I'm sorry. You said there were only two
Two departments for the police. One is in the general fund
No.
and one is in the district tax
No,
fund.
so you can always look at you said there were two categories, transactions, and you can look at what? Vendors? What was it?
Yeah. So let's look at another report to answer your question. As we're looking at this report, we can just say, okay, what are all the departments that we have? And let's clear all the. And if we want to look at our function called public safety, public protection, now this filter is just going to give you the police categories that are in the public protection function. And now we're drilled down into the police department 1140. And if we want to look at anything within the police department, we can either look at the transactions or the particular vendors for, say, this 251,000. We can say, that's the budget. This 90,000 here, we can gel through now. What are the transactions for that 90,000? And boom, there's the transactions for that $90,000. Now, Ruth asked me, so did I answer your question, Councilmember?
Yes, I ended up turning around so I can actually get a clearer visual. Thank you.
Okay. And then Ruth asked me to prepare a check register. So right here we have a check register. And if we wanted to look at the checks in any one given month, we can, let's see, did we have a filter on this report? Oh, yeah. Okay, so here are the check register that checks were written in July, checks were written in August, checks were written in September. If we just unclicked everything, this is checks from all time. And all this report can be sorted by date, or it can be resorted by the vendor code. If you were looking for a particular vendor, then we would come over here and just let's search for the vendor and say we want to look for A Check Global. I can just start doing A Check and boom, there's A-Check Global. Now we can see here's the checks that were written to A-Check Global year to date, $881. So that's how quick you can get the information. All of this information is available within the very good program, Tyler Munis. Tyler Munis is an ERP system. It's meant for transactions. And what we're doing every night is we're extracting all the transactions out of Tyler Munis and updating this report so that in the morning the data is fresh and you'll be able to answer questions. A couple more things I'd like to point out. The data can be shared by by copying links. So if someone comes and asks a question, well, how much revenue, did we collect in the district tax, for year to date? Well, I just go ahead and just say, I'm going to share this link. I'm going to copy it, put it in an email, send it to the person asking the question. So you're answering questions within the software. We can export it and analyze it in Excel, create PowerPoints, PDFs of every visualization, and you can also then share this data within the Teams environment so that the departments can collaborate, about how they're performing with their budgets year to date. So we get visualizations, we get analytics, we have automation of business processing. It's user friendly and it integrates with our system, and has many, many applications for making the finance department more effective and efficient than it already is. So with that, I just be ready to answer any questions. Of course, I'll be working with Ruth robustly to get this posted on your webpage, and we look forward to answering any questions and working with you all. Thank you.
Councilwoman Goodson has a follow-up question.
So thank you. This is really great detail. Just wanted to clarify who has access to this. It's going to be on our webpage, and is there anything that the public is not privy to?
So I'll start the question and then Ruth can finish it. So right now, we have deployed it to the city site and only Ruth has access to it right now. As we can define who has access to it in multiple levels in multiple ways. So there may be some reports that are, that are really easy for the public to use, and we can report that out, in the public. And there may be other reports that we just want to share internally. And of course, Ruth will always have access to all the reports in order to, deploy it as the city policy dictates.
Thank
Super.
you. Ruth?
Right, Ruth, yeah.
I'm thinking the only thing that might be confidential would be an employee wage garnishment or what insurance they take. That is not included in this.
Yeah, that would be my thought, payroll information. We get into that,
Gross
because that's an
salaries are in
amazing
here.
amount of
Yeah.
detail. Like
Yeah.
I said, it reminds me very much of, you have QuickBooks, you have full access to every little detail, which is pretty impressive. But folks can't write checks, right?
No, and right now our payroll software is not within Tyler, so it doesn't have access to all the information. But we'll make sure when we integrate it with Tyler that no confidential information will be shared.
Right. Thank you.
Great, all right. Councilwoman Johnstone has a question.
Thank you. Just real quick, this is amazing. My question is, will the public have to log in, create a login to access this information, or is it just going to be public information and readily available to anybody and everybody?
I believe it's readily available to anybody, but I'll let Charlie confirm that.
Yeah, it will be when we do publish it to the website as a public document. It'll be there for anyone to go to whenever they want. But typically, they will access it through your public-facing website.
Thank you.
Super. Well, thank you. Appreciate all the information. We're looking forward to seeing this up online. Oh, just a moment. I do have Councilman Weber. He has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you thank you for this presentation. Thank you for the work that you put into developing this. Thank you, Ruth, for bringing this to us. I think this is going to go a long way in assisting you and assisting all of us with being able to have real-time, easy access to these numbers, because transparency, I think, is fundamental to how we should run our city. So thank you so much for bringing this to us.
You're
We really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Charlie's the genius behind everything.
Thank you so much. And I've really enjoyed working with Ruth and her team, and looking forward to working with all of you council members. So, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Everybody loves Ruth.
And so, keeping within the conversation of all things finance, we're going to jump to on the general business to item number 12 and give Ruth an opportunity to update us on the mid-year update.
Okay, hello again. So I put together a mid-year review. So that's all of our revenues and expenses through the end of December, so the first 6 months of the year. I prepared a staff report to try to maybe summarize some of the data that's on there. I know there's a lot of numbers on my charts and graphs, but overall, I believe that we are on target with the revenues. It looks low. It only says 27%, but that's because our property taxes come in January and then again in May. So we have no property tax revenue through the end of December, but I assure you we got our first remittance in January. So that was almost $4 million. So that came in January. So it's not going to line up with half the year's gone, 50% of the revenues received. That's all received in the second half of the year. Also, our sales tax revenue, the first 2 months, July and August, get accrued back to the prior year. So it's only 4 months of sales tax revenue in the first year. So it makes our first half of the year look a little bit light, but I assure you everything is on target with those revenues. As far as expenditures go, I focused in on 3 areas that I need to ask for budget adjustments on, but everything else looks really good. The first one was our risk management, which is our liability insurance. It's coming in way over than projected. We put our best guess into the budget, and we're coming up short. So I'm asking for a budget adjustment for our insurance of $180,000. We owe 2 more remittances of $90,000 each, and so working with our risk manager on this one, she said, because she confirmed all the numbers and I wanted to make sure what was due, she said, I mean, as bad as this is, she said we're looking at a 30% increase for next year too, on top of this. So just out of control insurance costs. It's just way more than we've ever paid. So that's really concerning. The second one is health insurance for the elected officials. So I just under budgeted on that. I had some help on our projections, and it just was under budgeted. So I'm asking to increase that budget to cover the health insurance for all our elected officials, and that is in the amount of $80,000. The last one is the fire contract. So if you look at the little table in the staff report, I budgeted the fire contract based on the first 3 quarters, and you can see they were right around $1 million, maybe less than $1 million. And so I thought, well, I don't have to budget, because they talked about our contract being at top step, and so there's always going to be savings. And so I went with a budget estimate of $4.3 million, and then the last quarter came in at 1.5. And I'm like, oh no, I'm a little short here on the budget. So we met with CAL FIRE, Brian and I met with CAL FIRE, and they explained to us that a lot of things happened in the fourth quarter, that they had given a raise retro back to July, and that was all paid in the last quarter. They have fire season that they pay in the last quarter. They had academy. There was just a bunch of things that they told us that happened in the last quarter. So we can always kind of expect our last quarter to be higher than the first 3 quarters. So I just had to go and ask for a budget adjustment to fix that, my estimate. And the number that you see, the 4.9, is exactly what is in our contract. That is the contract that we have. So that is the maximum. Hopefully there is some savings, but not sure. Maybe if Chris is here, he can speak to that. But I just had to bring that up to what it could actually cost us. So those are the 3 things that I needed to ask for to fix the budget. So our debt, nothing unusual there. We owe 17.9 million in our pension obligation funds. We owe 9.8 to our successor agency bonds. So in summary, I feel like the city's on track to operate within the budget for the fiscal year. And as stated in previous presentations, our expenses are growing at a faster rate than our revenues. As you can see with our insurance, it's just blowing up. And the rising expenditures are a concern when we go into the next budget season. So we'll be considering all these factors. And with that said, the city does remain strong. When I have to point out that we still have our $9 million reserve. And I was asked to do Kayla, can you display again?
Excuse me, Ruth, can you repeat that? Our reserve?
Our reserve's at 9 million,
Thank
but
you.
that is not our total fund balance. So I did this little graph to show the last 6 years of our fund balance. So you could see that our fund balance at the end of 18 was 6.2 million, and we were able to start our general fund reserves that year at 1.5 million. And then in April of 2019, we started getting our district sales tax, our 1%. And so you could see that in 19, we had a little uptick in our revenues, and we were again able to put another 1.5 million away in our general fund reserves. And you can see on the bottom where we put 1.5 away for the last 6 years. We did not put it in the budget for this year, so it will remain at 9 million until we put it in a budget again if we have to. But you can see that top line on the revenues, it went from almost 5 million to 6.2, 11 million, 19 million. You can see the impact that the district tax, sales tax has done for us. And you can really see on that one, 2020, you can see our surplus was like $7 million. And that's because we really had, we just had a hard time spending it in the beginning. We wanted to make sure we were going to get that. And so we're slowly beginning to budget everything. And you can see our last year's surplus was 700,000. So we are getting to the point where maybe our budget expenditures are going to equal our revenues, but that's only if we can fill all of our vacant positions. So,
Councilman Thompson has a question.
okay.
Thank you. Yes. Going back to, you were discussing the actuals budget versus budget revision on the fire contract.
Yeah.
So could you just explain the difference between actuals? I know actuals and budget, I get your budget and then you have actuals, but in the budget revision, I guess I don't fully understand.
That's a budget that we need now to finish the year.
I see. So
the
here's
original budget was 4.3, and we need 4.9 to finish this current year.
Okay, so the actuals of the fourth quarter, even though it says 4.6, what you're looking for is 4.9.
No, so the actual 4.6 was the actual previous year.
The previous year.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the previous year, and that's where you can
I
see.
see. I didn't get the number. I wasn't looking at the number
Yeah.
above. Got
And
it.
then
Okay, that makes
the current
sense.
year is 4.3, and we need 4.9 to
Got
make it
it.
through.
That makes
this year.
sense now. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to stress that that is exactly what is in the contract that we agreed to. So it was a 3-year contract. Last year, again, I think Ruth and I were learning, I think, how they were billing in the fourth quarter when they did the true up. You know, we based the budget this year based on the first 3 quarters, not knowing about that true up, and this is just to rectify that. There were about 200. There still was a savings of roughly 220 some odd thousand last year. Obviously, we don't know we won't know how it ends up at the end of this year, but we know it won't go over that 4.9 million.
Great. Thank you.
Super. Okay. Councilwoman Johnstone.
Thank you. Thank you for this, Ruth. I appreciate it. So I just want to clarify in layman's terms that even with all of the purchases and all of the upgrades and everything that we've been doing for the city for this last year, we still have a surplus of $9 million.
That's a general fund reserve.
General fund,
It's not
sorry.
a surplus, it's a reserve. But if you look at our ending fund balance, it's 27 million. So we have 27 million in fund balance, but 9 of it has been reserved for emergencies.
So
That's our.
Even with expenses going up and unplanned budget increases that we need to do, the city is still in good standing.
Yes, and I will tell you that, I think I told you this at budget time, that the general fund was very difficult to budget this year. And that's why I went with the 4.3 fire budget, as it was very difficult. There's no problems balancing the district tax fund. We still have room in there. I think we put 2 million in there for roads that we're probably not going to do next year. So there's still room in that. So general fund wise, we are tapped. District tax fund, we still have opportunity to do things. And so that's why you're seeing, purchases and trailers and anything that we can do for public safety goes through that fund. So that's where that's coming from. But general fund, I don't know how I'm going to balance it next year with increases in the insurance and the full fire contract. So it's going to be a challenge.
But that's with every city, correct?
Yeah.
General fund.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
it's
not
really the
just-
pensions that are driving that. The pensions are, and insurance now. Insurance is just as bad as the pensions. Going up 30%, it's a big problem.
Thank you very much.
If I can piggyback on that, again, as you mentioned, large purchases, large expenditures. So if you recall, when the city council did approve and direct staff to purchase the fire engine, that was with carryover Measure U dollars from a prior year that were not spent. One-time dollars, not ongoing expense. So it was a one-time purchase. The courtyard is another significant expense that the council is looking at to improve, obviously, the services provided here locally. And again, that's with some local fiscal recovery dollars and some, I believe, RDA dollars. Again, one-time dollars that were set aside, not touching a penny of that reserve. Reserve has not been touched.
And reserve funds, also, it's a percentage that we're only technically allowed to hold over as well. And I think
Well, there's I think
there are guidelines.
There's guidelines.
And we're right at the top of those guidelines, as I understand,
Correct.
from the last time we presented on this topic.
Correct.
So, and that hasn't changed.
Correct.
Okay, so Councilman Weber has a question.
Okay.
I actually have several questions. So just thank you. I appreciate Councilmember Johnstone's observations and actually all the observations so far. But so how much money was in our general fund reserve when this council assumed the dais in January of 2023?
So it was 7.5 million,
And so it's actually went up.
and now it's 9.
Okay.
Wait, what was the date? I want to make sure.
January of 23 when we
January,
assumed.
so a year ago. Was it not 9 million then?
It turned to 9 million on 6/30/22.
Okay,
So it was
Was that 9
7.5
million?
when this council was seated.
this council was seated
January
January 1 of 23.
23. Did I say 22? If I did, I
Oh,
apologize.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure you get the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see that it's gone up 1.5 million every year for the last 6 years, from the year it was established.
Councilwoman Goodson has a question, and then also I asked
I still have some questions,
Oh, okay,
but
all right.
I could wait.
and I do ask, I don't have the mayor's tablet in front of me, so I'm not able to clear. So if y'all could clear for me when you're finished, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I could wait for Councilmember.
No worries. I Googled the answer to my question to Brian. Thank you.
Okay. Now I've heard it be said okay, so I've received emails, a couple of phone calls, and some inquiries via Messenger and whatnot. And I've heard it be said that we had at one point 14 million in our general fund reserves. Is there any truth to that at all?
Our general fund reserves are started at 1.5 million 6 years ago and increased 1.5
And then,
million.
okay, so what we see is what we got.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
all right.
think somebody might have been confusing it with our ending fund balance, because if you look at our ending fund balance, it is 27 million now, but it was close to 14 in 2018-19, so they might have been talking about total fund balance.
Okay, that's what I kind of suspected. And then you already answered, I had the question about where did the fire truck money come from, and then where did the new courtyard money come from? But can you explain a little bit more, just for the sake of those that are listening, the carryover of Measure U, please?
Yeah, and Ruth can probably get to the details, but I know there were some Measure U dollars budgeted in prior years, I believe, for some road projects, and it's kind of similar to what we're in this year. We have $2 million budgeted for this year. We had $1 million for Highway 162, and I know we're going to give a road project update here in about a month, so I won't get too far into the weeds. And then we had $1 million that we're going to be on some other projects. Thankfully, we have that $2 million because that project 162 is actually, there's some issues going on with it, costs going up, some revenues not coming in as we had projected. But it's like any other road project. You know, we were hoping to get, I think, started here in the spring, and we'll probably start in spring, but we're not going to expend that whole $2 million this fiscal year realistically. So what's going to happen is we have $2 million budgeted. We might spend a couple $100,000, maybe $500,000. We'll see when the work commences. Then we're going to have that $1.5 million left over. In years past, if there was another priority, you can use, okay, you have this $1.5 million carried over, unless you rebudget it in the going year. And again, that 1.5, we haven't talked about this yet, but obviously we're going to have to rebudget that to 162 because the project will be in the middle of construction. So that won't be there to be used on another priority of the council. It'll be bookmarked for that project.
Okay.
So if there was Measure U dollars that were budgeted but not expended, then they kind of rolled over.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Yeah. And then I want to make one last observation, and I want to also thank you, Ruth, for this timely report because of the rumor that has been spreading around town. And I'm not exactly sure where it originated, but I have, like I said, I've received emails and phone calls regarding this general fund reserve of what was considered to be 14 million by whoever's saying it, and that we burned through it. So we haven't touched our general fund reserve. We're not broke as a city. We can make moves if we had to, based upon what we have. So I just wanted to clarify that because for the people that may be listening in the audience that have heard this or somebody online, that we are not broke. We haven't spent the city into oblivion. We do have our reserves. We're in good standing. We're not being a reckless council who is just indiscriminately going crazy and buying anything we can just for the sake of buying anything we can. And we're not trying to intentionally drive this city into the dirt. Does that sound like a fair assessment? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So are there any other questions from the council? Do we have any public comments at this time?
No, we do not.
Okay.
I've attached a lot of fun financial stuff on the back of it if you get a chance to read it. But I won't go over it line by line for you.
Great job. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, Ruth. Yeah, very good. So I believe we need...
I'm sorry. It looks like...
Brian.
Oh, so sorry.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, that means you did a good
I thought
job,
you had a
Ruth.
question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I literally did go ahead and Google the answer to what I was going to ask you. No, I'm not.
No, you don't want to share.
At this time, I'm looking for a motion to increase these 3 expenditure items.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay, vote. And if we can take them, oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, going back to presentations.
Actually, we'll go to the public hearing now. We have it scheduled for 5 o'clock.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock.
But then we will, and our second presenter is here, so after we do the public hearings at 5 and 5:15, we'll jump to the second presentation.
Okay. At this time, at 5:15, we're going to open our public hearing. And this is item number 13. So the action requested is to waive the second reading and adopt by title only an ordinance, the City Council of the City of Oroville, adding a dangerous or vicious animal policy, amending Title VI to include Chapter 6.08.120A to 6.08.129D, dangerous or vicious animal policy for the City of Oroville. And so we have some presenters. Chief?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor and Council, and Mr. Mayor online. This is a continuation of the meeting that we held on December 19th, 2023, discussing dangerous and vicious animals. I have Gregor from the Northwest SPCA, who is our humane officer for the City of Oroville. We discussed this previously. You might recall this was discussing my dangerous wombat that I have. I've since looked up what a wombat is, and I seen what a picture of it is, but I don't actually possess one inside the city, so anybody that hears that, it's not, I do live in the city, but I don't have a wombat. What this just is amending our code. It's adding a section to it for animals that are aggressive and dangerous so that animal can be taken into custody and dealt with more quickly as far as from an animal perspective when the animal does become vicious and becomes a dangerous animal and needs to be dealt with. Right now, our current code doesn't allow us to do anything other than move into an administrative process, and then when the administrative process is not adhered to, the animal has been returned to the individual, we're kind of at a loss because our current code doesn't allow anything to happen. As previously discussed by Gregor, he has given you some examples of what the shortcomings are within our policy and within our municipal code. And what we're asking for is to amend that, to add the sections that were given to you in the policy and adopt the ordinance that's there. I realize that after we do this, we'll post it, and then in 30 days it will go into effect. But this is a tool that will really give our partners at the Northwest SPCA some real teeth in the code so that in the event that something happens, is kind of a pun, to deal with these issues as they arise on an individual basis. So this is just kind of a continuation of the last meeting. We're here today to get any sort of public input or input from the council. To date, we have not received any from anyone regarding this. It was advertised for a public hearing tonight, so we're here to hear any input or changes that might be necessary for this item.
Any questions from the council? Do we have any blue cards on this item?
No, none received.
I just want to know if this receives full approval from McGruff, who always said he's going to take a bite at a crime.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and then Gregor can come get him.
All right.
We'll need a motion.
Well, with no further questions, nothing from the public, do I have a motion to adopt?
Waive the second reading, second.
All right. Have a vote? You guys are making this easy.
I vote aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Super. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, the second item, we're going to consider in Municipal Code Section 17.16.150, which is the mobile vending, to set and develop of a standard for multiple food vendors at one location. Of course, the Planning Commission has recommended approval of this item as well. So do we have a presentation?
Yes, like a presentation.
We're moving this to the next council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is when we can open it up and we can certainly take any public comment, but then we'll go ahead and continue it to February 6th.
Correct.
Okay.
If there's any comment today, we certainly can welcome it.
And individuals will still be able to comment on
Yep.
February 6th as well. They don't have to comment today.
Okay. Do we have any one from the public that wishes to comment on this?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
We have one submitted from Brian Wong.
Hi, good evening, Council. And yes, I want to speak on behalf of this issue on mobile food vending. Many years ago, I sat on the Food Safety Review Board with the Butte County Health in formulating the policies that allow for mobile vending and the proper and best practices for mobile vending. So in recent times, I've seen like a lot of abuse on what people are doing. So especially like having like food and tables and enclosed tents, and even tents were not allowed back in the day when these rules were formed. So I see a lot, so I don't know if it's up to the health department or the city of Oroville to regulate a lot of these rules and regulations that needs to be enforced to keep the public safe. The other concern that I have also is you look at the amount of mobile food vendors now. The question that crosses my mind each time is, are they properly permitted with the city of Oroville? And as we see with the budget presentation earlier, are they properly registering those sales to the city of Oroville? Because at the end of each night, our POS systems are automatic. It registers it, we're done. So if they're improperly doing that, then that means we're also not getting the revenue to support city services. This year, especially when you look at the rise in minimum wage, a lot of the other operators, especially in fast food that I associate and talk with, they're having a very tough time. So if we're taking sales away from fast food due to people operating differently or improperly even, not to say that they're all improper, some of them are actually excellent operators. But if we start putting like some of our fast food businesses out of business, what does that mean for our revenues for our city? So I think like, we got to rethink, it's like, well, we can allow all these permits, but what number should we allow? How should we allow it? And then how do we make sure that they're doing it properly without hurting local businesses? So, thank you.
All right, thank you. That concludes our public comment.
Yes, that does.
All right.
We can, I know Mr. Belser and I were actually speaking of the first topic that Mr. Wong mentioned, and go ahead.
So I addressed the council about 3 months ago. We have been working diligently with Butte County Public Health. We have shut down 9 mobile vendors that were not properly licensed. They didn't have health permits. They would show up here from out of town. They would set up on vacant lots, and they were busy. And Public Health came to us, and we have them all shut down except for one person. So the mobile vendors that have the food trucks, they are regularly inspected by us, by Public Health, to make sure that they have their proper licensing and proper permit. As far as what they do with their revenue, we have no way inspecting or controlling that. So, well, no, a lot of them have the point of sale systems, and a lot of them are cash only. And so, that's the scary part that you can't control.
Right, great.
Did you shut the one down?
Yes, they haven't showed back up. We've been watching for them to pop up in another area. That this is a group that not only does that type of business, but you'll see them in supermarkets trying to sell fruit. You see them on the sides of the road trying to sell flowers. It's the same group of individuals. We've been taking down license plates, running names. A majority of these individuals are out of Honduras. They aren't even from California.
Great. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I know that's been an issue. Well, with no further ado, I believe we are going to close the public hearing at 5:25.
And we'll continue it to February 6th. Do we need a motion to continue it, or?
No, just the announcement that it's being continued.
Okay. Yeah. And then in particular, this item that we just finished discussing. Yeah. Thank you. Great. Well, at this time, we're going to move to the second presentation. Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. Tonight we have a presentation from our potential partner, Cameron Johnson, who's with AMG and Associates. They're an affordable developer that we have worked with on several projects here. They have the River Bend family apartments and also the newly built Mitchell Avenue apartments, and as well as Prospect View apartments. This new project is also going to be located on Nelson Avenue, adjacent to the Prospect View. It's property that they currently own. And we have an opportunity to work with them and partner with them through a affordable housing and sustainable community grant, where it pays for the affordable housing, but also pays for a lot of infrastructure, sidewalks, bike lanes, ridership programs for the city of Oroville. We're a rural community, and it'll help us pay for up to 2 miles worth of that. So Cameron is here, and he'll present some site renderings and talk a little bit about more of the benefits to the community. And please, if you have any questions, now's a great time to ask them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good evening, Mayor.
There you go. You're good.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Cameron Johnson. I represent AMG and Associates in Pacific West Communities. We are affordable housing developers. I appreciate the opportunity to give you a little background information on this project, and more specifically talk about the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Program and really what the benefits are to the city of that program. We're hoping to be back in front of you in February or March, requesting a resolution authorizing the submission of this application. But it's my understanding that there is some concern about just an oversaturation of affordable housing units and projects in Oroville since the Paradise Fire. So I also brought our partner, Ed Mayer, with the Housing Authority here he's got some data that he can provide for you on maybe the 12 projects or so that have been built in the community over the last couple of years, 5 of which are ours. But the ASIC program is a joint effort from the California Strategic Growth Council and HCD. And the goal is to encourage the development of infill affordable housing while also helping reduce greenhouse gas emissions through promoting alternative modes of transportation away from single passenger vehicle use, such as walking, bicycling, rideshare vans, vehicles, and using transit. And so how we do that is we look for infill sites, and then we take that project and we try to connect it to services, amenities, schools, the employment sector through adding bike lanes, sidewalks, bus shelters, increasing urban greening, street lighting, whatever we can do to remove impediments and barriers to taking these alternative modes of transportation. There's plenty of areas in Oroville where you have major gaps. You have a sidewalk, and then you have a gap where you have children and adults having to walk on the shoulder, riding a bike on the shoulder. And so what we do is we work with, and we've been doing this for the last month, we've worked with city engineering, planning, public works, and we've already come up with a partial scope that will build 2 miles of bike lanes, over a mile worth of sidewalks. And we're also working with BCAG on adding bus shelters, increasing stops, providing transit passes to our tenants, again, to just make it more accessible to take these other forms of transportation. I've had a lot of success with this program. I usually submit 1 to 2 applications a year for the last 5 years, and we've funded 6 projects. This particular project, the Nelson Point Apartments, I think you guys have the renderings, is a 72-unit project. It's a net zero energy project, so as much energy as that project consumes, we will create on site. It's got a robust amenity package, and it's essentially identical to the Riverbend project, which is just up the road. And we think it's a great opportunity for the city to access potentially, our goal right now, we don't have the exact figures, but we'll probably be applying for a grant between $4 and $6 million that will be made to the city and to the Transit Authority. They're the renderings, along with a $12 million loan to help support the construction of the project. As Amy mentioned, we own the site. It's actually 2 parcels. We own 1 parcel. We're under contract to purchase the other, which we close on next month. So even if we are unsuccessful in getting the funding this round, we plan to resubmit next round, and we're very confident that we'll eventually get that funding. Regarding the concern about the saturation of affordable housing, I know it's something, it's a topic that's been discussed. What I will tell you is just the timing on this. These projects take a very long time to get off the ground. If you guys do support the application, we would submit this probably in April, with funding being awarded in late 2024. We would then apply for credits, 9% credits in 2025, with construction beginning in 2026 and being completed in 2027. So you're talking at least 3 years at the earliest, somewhere between 3 and 5 years before these units even hit the streets. At that point, I don't think saturation will be a concern. All these current projects will be fully leased up. The data I can give you is on the project that we have, Riverbend Apartments, which is just up the street here on Table Mountain and Nelson. That first 72 units was leased up in 45 days. We have a long wait list. Tons of demand in that particular regard for the family units. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have, and look forward to working with you guys. And Ed, if you want to say a couple things.
Cameron, do you have any idea? Yeah, Vice Mayor Smith. Cameron, so do you have any idea how much frontage would then receive improvement with the sidewalk, curb, gutter, bike path, that type of thing? Because I know once you get past the county buildings, and then there's also another project that's going in there that's in services, I believe. So once you get past that, and then there is no more, obviously, infrastructure.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I wish I would have brought the map that we worked on. We had a call last week, and Amy, I think you were on that call. And I don't know if you have a copy of the map, but I believe that is the bike lane that we plan on extending out about 2 miles all the way.
Yeah, it is. the proposed project is to go past the school on Eagle. We'll have sidewalks on both sides and then up towards the school. And then also some streets that feed into that area from Grand Avenue to Nelson. So there will be 2 miles worth of it. So there's quite a bit of improvements.
Yeah, and of course that gets into public safety and the kiddos and all of that. So it sounds like it's pretty robust.
Right.
Because we do have a concern, when it comes to, the low income, because we've certainly hit those RENA numbers. So I think it's important to kind of monitor that as we move forward. I was actually taken back at the fact that most of all of these apartments have been rented out, which really I think goes to show, the need. It's certainly out there. So
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned when I saw all of the projects being built at the same time. And Ed can probably speak to that as well, but we were, blown away. We've had no issues and just leased right up.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, it's good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
My pleasure, Vice Mayor, and pleasure to be back here in City Council chambers. I come here really wearing 2 hats, and the first I'll disclose that the Housing Authority's nonprofit corporation, Butte County Affordable Housing Development Corporation, of which I'm president, is partners with the Pacific companies in this proposal. So the Housing Authority effectively has taken an interest in this, and we take a public interest because there's some public spin-offs that go beyond just affordable housing. You just discussed those. This is an interesting location. We too are wary of more supply in a community where in our disaster recovery work, there's 881 units of affordable housing produced here in Oroville alone, which is a lot of affordable housing. On the other hand, the pent-up demand is extraordinary. Every one of the projects that have come online to date have leased up within 2 months. And that's extraordinary in itself, given that these properties are regulated and you have a lot of paperwork that goes along with these applications. So we know that the demand is there. We see this project really as a pipeline project. It's out there, 2, 3, 4, even maybe 5 years. We don't know. It's hard to assemble financing. We have a strong development partner, so we believe that at some point we will secure that financing, bringing the public benefit to Oroville, but it'll be out there a bit. All of these disaster recovery projects will be well digested by that point. So what does this project really do? Where is it? It's sitting on Nelson Avenue, the Nelson Avenue corridor. It's on a piece of property that sits between the Prospect View apartments, which is for extremely low income, formerly homeless persons, and the Housing Authority's property at Hammond Park, which is a public housing property. So this piece of land does not lend itself to, how should I say, high-income residential development, single-family houses. It's consistent to have it built out in multifamily housing. It's near schools, it's on a main transit corridor, and these benefits would bring all the public sidewalks up and down Nelson Avenue. So it's the right kind of project for this property at some point. Not today, but here we are sowing the seeds for tomorrow. And one of the things that's very difficult in our business to do is secure land. And in fact, the most difficult thing in building affordable housing is securing land. So when we have a strong development partner who has a good piece of ground, to us that's a project. Whether that's today or tomorrow or the next day, that's still a project. So we hope to work with the city here in negotiating this application. And if you have any questions, here's again with the Housing Authority and Butte County Affordable.
Super.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Ed? Council? No? Do we have any public comments?
Yes, we do, Chair. We have one submitted from Ed Mayer.
No, that's him.
Oh, that's Ed right there.
Nice to meet you.
My apologies. Nice to meet you.
I did wanted to comment a little bit on the RENA numbers. It is true that we have really done a great job at hitting our low-income RENA numbers, but I don't think that they necessarily paint the entire picture of what's happening in the community, and that is told by the fact that they have not had any trouble renting out their projects, and there's waiting lists. I hear from people often that are looking for a place to move. So I just wanted to put that out there that, yes, we've done a great job with those RENA numbers. We still need to do some moderate and above moderate work, but there is still a need for affordable here.
Yeah, I think the positive piece from my perspective is the infrastructure development, which we desperately need, especially in that part of town, especially when considering school children.
And
so that's very important to get that done.
And this is the only funding source out there right now that does that for us. And it's a win-win for the city because, like you said, we have a lot of missing connections on that street, and it'll take it all the way to the school and then past the other way, past Home Depot. So it's a great opportunity for the city to get some work done.
Super. Councilwoman Goodson has a question.
I probably have several into one, but I know, correct me if I'm wrong, as long as we have a population of a certain size, and I think right now we're at approximately 19,900.
20, yeah.
Oh, so give or take a few. And so that equates to we are still considered rural.
Good
right?
point.
And
Great
so
point.
at what point do we reach, what is the population that we need to
last
reach that
year-
urban?
So last year we were at that point. And so if you remember, we came to council asking for a support letter to ask the rural development to reclassify us as rural. And they did do that. And we were, I think, 34 people above the number. So now's a good time to use the rural. We are able to go in that rural area in the future as we grow. When they'll relook at the census numbers again. So we really kind of are in that pot for a while. But it's a good time to do these types of projects because it puts us in a different category that we're more competitive in.
Okay, so now is really an appropriate time while we're still in that that small number below, let's say 21,000.
Correct.
Where we are able to access the affordable housing, which for those of us that are most familiar, that live in certain areas of the city where people are couch surfing, where there's 2 and 3 generations living under one roof, it's stacked. And so I thank you for the presentation and for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Councilman Thompson.
Thank you. I just wanted to communicate to the public that there's a lot of comments that are made on this dais regarding supporting moderate to medium to high income housing, which is absolutely the case. We need that. But that doesn't mean that necessarily, I'll speak for myself, that there is a opposition to low income housing. And I just, there's a lot of mixed reviews on it, but I know people that have rented out these affordable, these new developments that have been in our town that are more geared towards low-income people, and they're a range from people that I know that have moved in, or a range from elderly that had their rents raised and they were at risk of not being able to afford that, even mortgage insurance rates that have gone up, that the people didn't know where they're going to move, and these opportunities help them find a space to live, as well as other individuals who are hardworking and just were living outside the area but working in town and now are living within the area. So it's the need absolutely is there, and grateful these spots are clean and they're new and they're well managed. So seeing the current management and the way they're maintained and the people that are moving, that at least I know of, that it seems like I don't really see a serious negative. I see it as a service that's needed in our community. So especially something that's going to be years out. I'm definitely not opposed. I'm in support.
Thank you.
It's a win-win.
Great.
Especially
But I'm
with the
very much in support of
infrastructure.
seeing some immediate,
Absolutely.
medium and higher income housing. But we're in some difficult times, and insurance rates we see are going up. I mean, everything, the cost of living in our state is just crazy. And the decisions that are made outside and above this council chambers that continue to increase that burden on the citizens, increase that burden on businesses, business owners. It's just really a challenging time, and so having at least some avenue for somebody who's really trying to make ends meet, for them to have a roof over their head and not have to sleep on somebody's couch or lose their home, all that kind of stuff. That anyway, it's just difficult and different times that we live in. So here we are.
Well, thank you. Yeah, just a final comment. I think as we begin to see a drying up of various grants, obviously the state is challenged with their budget. I think we're going to have more of those conversations in the months to come. So whenever we have a partner that can bring real infrastructure change positively with sidewalk, curb gutter, those types of things, that's just a win, I think, at the end of the day. And given, I think the case being made that we're still, that those facilities can be utilized and that there's a need. So I appreciate the presentation. Thank you very much. And I think the only action required is that we've just received that information here today. All right, well, moving right along to public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have blue cards?
Yes, we do.
Super.
We will begin with Kiki Silva and follow that with Bill Spear.
Good evening. Did I turn that on? Good evening. My name is Kiki Silva, and I'm with the Oroville Quota. Oroville Quota is a nonprofit women's service organization that serves the women and children in our city and county. I'm coming here to talk today about the Prom Project. We've been doing the Prom Project for the last 10 years, and what the Prom Project is that we give away free prom attire to children in our area. They come in, receive dresses, suits, ties, jewelry, hygiene products, anything they would need to attend one of the most significant things that you would do in high school. We just don't want children to be able to go to high school and not be able to attend prom because they don't have the funds. And in our area, there's a huge need for teens to be able to do this. We not only provide prom attire, but we also let them have clothing for graduation or job interviews. Our goal, again, is to provide everything they need to access that milestone. When they come into the Prom Project, they're assigned a personal shopper. They take them through and they ask them questions like, what grade they're in. If they're a senior, they get an extra outfit for graduation. Once they find everything they need, we bag it up, and they're on their way at no cost to them at all. We provide this by having donations from our community. During the campfire, we had all of our dresses stored up in Paradise, and we lost everything. Then Lulus.com out of Chico donated about 3,000 dresses to us. The Sheriff's Department purchased the racks for us to have this. And we open the boutique every year for 7 days in April. We bring everything out. Our volunteers are about 12 senior citizens who come in and help the kids out. And then we pack it up and we put it away. Every year I struggle to find a building to have the Prom Project. I asked for space from different organizations. The Axiom one year let us use their space, but because we have about 2,000 dresses, we overwhelmed the Axiom, and it was hard for them to do their programming with our boutique items. We've used the storefront that is now the bridal salon for 3 years running when Marsha couldn't rent that place. I think they got the bridal salon idea because of our boutique in there. It gave them a great idea. And we've used the YMCA building. This year, I'm struggling finding a place, so I'm just keen to see if the council can give me some support and perhaps suggest a building, or if you know of a business like that could lend us an empty storefront for just 7 days in April at no cost, because again, everything is done free to the public. We don't have any money to rent a building for 7 days. And I did give you to show you who we served last year. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
I didn't get a information on square footage you're looking for.
I'm not even sure about the square footage. Like I said, I have 2,000 dresses. So last year we used the YMCA building on Robinson, and I completely filled that building. So approximately about that size.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's such a noteworthy project.
Do you have a contact?
my information.
We will put on our thinking caps.
Yes, it's a challenge.
I got two. Yeah.
All right.
Moving,
Sorry, go ahead.
do we have another blue card?
We sure do. Bill Spear.
Right.
Vice Mayor, City Council. Really liked the presentation from Charlie. I didn't understand a lot of it, but he really had enthusiasm and it was encouraging, and I want to be a little more like that in things that I present. So thank you, Charlie. This scripture of the day was Jeremiah 29:13, but I'm going to start out at 11 just because everybody loves 11 and little extra. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come to me and pray, and I will listen to you. And here's verse 13, the verse for the day. And you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. So here's the prayer. Father, we thank you for today, for the rain and the provision for the spring as you are filling up the mountains with snow and the processes that you send forth. And it says that your word will not return void, but will accomplish what you have sent it forth to do. And so we pray that you would continue, Lord, as we seek you, that you would intervene in our city, that you would intervene in our county, that you would intervene in the church, and that you would continue to move. And we thank you for all the things that are discussed, all the things that are on the agenda. And we pray for the projects as the people come and they present them, and that it would prosper, that we would be like a city on a hill, a light on a shelf, that people would see you moving here and come and want to see what's going on in Oroville, and that they would seek you with all their hearts, and that you would be found. And we thank you for the scripture for today. We thank you for our city council, and we pray that you would continue to bless them, continue to give them that supernatural wisdom, continue to bless their families and their children, and as they lay down their lives and their time to serve the community. In your word, it says, the greatest of all shall be the servant of all. We thank you for our police and our code enforcement. We thank you for the SPCA, who's the new ordinance that would better equip them. Continue to bless and anoint your people. Continue to provide, just as the rain is fresh and new. Let your word be over us, fresh and new. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Oh, was that the last blue card?
We have one more remaining
Okay.
from Brian Willows. Oh, Williams. My apologies.
Hello, Council.
Hi, Brian.
Your microphone, there you go.
Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me tonight. I'm here to be seen and to be heard. I've been trying to get in touch with some of the staff members for, I think, 2 months now. And I've come to the city council meetings to get in front of them. And so I'm here again today. Just wanted to sit down with some of the staff. So again, I'd love to sit down with you, both of you too, to try to figure out some of the issues that are going on around my house. I'm sorry I didn't get here earlier. I am very happy to see that the GOAT map has the city side of the levee on it this year. Last year we had to have them called back, and they didn't end up getting behind the mugshots last year. So I'm very excited to see that's happening. I'm also here to act as a witness to what's on the levee right now. There is abandoned campsites that have been there for over 2 months. I've gone down and taken pictures. There's electronics. Last month, DWR let out a bunch of water and flushed them all down the river. They're still there. And so I don't know what can be done. I know you say you ride your bike down there. I don't know if you do so much anymore with the weather. We have multiple tents camping out on the peninsula that is out from Centennial Park. We have people camping on the peninsula that's out by Bedrock Park. I know the one on Bedrock Park is all city land, and it's neglected. It's not seen, so nothing's being done. Unfortunately, my house is right by the thoroughfare of where they all take all their garbage to there, abandoning their shopping carts and everything along the way. I'm looking to not be left alone. There's things that could be done very simply. It just needs more witnesses. So I don't know how else to ask for help, but I'm on an island by myself. I finally got to catch Officer McGrath outside before I came in today. He was another gentleman I'm looking to get a hold of. Cat feeding is out of control, and I'm looking for a solution. I've sent emails to multiple city members, staff members, offering solutions, offering what other cities are doing, and I have not heard back. I would love to sit down with many people and try to discuss what kind of solutions that we could come up for the city. Again, there's many cities that have outlined ways to make it capable to do so and make it real and sanitary and safe for everybody involved. I have a property that, because of all the cat feeding that's going on, it's sustaining the homeless people's pets, it's sustaining the skunks, the raccoons, the possums, and these animals should be digging in the ground for bugs, and they're sustained on high-density cat food, so they're running around 24
All right, thank you, Brian. Yeah, time.
I know, I'm sorry. I'll be around if anybody.
Hey, Brian, I just want you to know that this Thursday, Code Enforcement, City Works, and we partnered up with Feather River Park and Rec. We'll be abating vacant camps. We abate camps down there every week. To say nothing goes on down there, the City Works is down there daily. I'm just telling you. I want to finish. Okay, we are there daily. I have hundreds of photos. I've talked to you. We will be there Thursday, and we will be abating camps. And understand your frustration. I run that bike trail every morning. I feel your frustration. I know the people that are there. Okay. Well, right now the bar is we follow the rules of the state of California and case law, and we're limited in how we move people around our community. And we do. Okay.
So,
Let's
Brian.
Let's put this
Brian.
well beside
So
Tom.
Thursday you're going to be down there, Mr. Belser. So this Thursday. So let's give the city an opportunity to further address this, and then they can connect with you then. So we appreciate those concerns, and I think that concerns all of us when it comes to public safety and those things. And I know we have a very robust program that mitigates a lot of those impacts. So, and I think you guys are doing a pretty amazing job considering some of those challenges that you've mentioned with the state. And those are real things that you have to consider. All right, moving right along to council announcements and reports. So do we have any from the council? Councilman Thompson. Oh, Councilwoman Goodson. It popped up. So
I just want to give a shout out to our community. Yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday and also birthday. Annually, we have a MLK Breakfast, Scholarships and Technology event at the Southside Center. It's every year, it just continues to get better and better. We had approximately 240 people that were in attendance. We gave nine $500 each to high school students that are college bound. They each received $500 each. And in addition to that, once they are enrolled in their college classes, they will also receive an HP brand new 15-inch screen computer as well. So I just wanted to thank the community. Thank you for our sponsors. I want to thank you. We had two great bookmarks. Being respectful, not calling you a bookmark, but Pastor Billy Spear, he opened it up, and our councilman, Sean Weber, closed us out. So thank you once again for a phenomenal event on Martin Luther King Day, celebrating his legacy.
Right. Councilman Weber.
Thank you very much. I do want to piggyback off that, Councilmember Goodson. What an amazing event, and I would like to give credit where credit's due for you and your organization of the event, along with your wonderful husband, Pastor David Goodson, and all the other event coordinators. If I was to go through the whole list, it would be a lot, but clearly you guys were right at the forefront of that. And thank you for the opportunity to go over there and partake in that, and the life, the legacy, the sacrifice, and the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King and what he did for our country in the civil rights movement, and it still lives on today. So it was an awesome opportunity. It was a great event. Lots of speakers, wonderful fellowship, great food, and just thank you so much. And then I also wanted to talk during my time. I know that the chief is also going to talk about this too, but I wanted to talk about, there is a public safety workshop coming up. I think the chief's going to talk about that during his, I think. But we're going to be holding that on Monday at the convention center, and I'll go ahead and hold back any further comment about that. I'll let the chief talk about it whenever he does talk about it, because it's really his get down. So, but yeah, thank you so much for the MLK event. It was awesome, and it was a great opportunity to display unity in community.
That's right.
All of us coming together for a really good cause, for work toward that unity. Thank you.
Amen.
Super. And then I just want to comment, this week, starting Thursday, then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Cal Expo, there will be the International Sportsman's Expo, and we will have an Oroville booth there for the entire time. So that's where yours truly will be, representing Oroville for all of the outdoor enthusiasts. If you get a chance, come on out to the Cal Expo. It's just a great event. And if you're an outdoor enthusiast, everything that you can imagine is there on full display. That being said, administrative reports.
I'll go first. Quick update, two quick updates. I think everyone knows this, but the Cal Water has fluorinated water within the city since the mid-50s. And the topic has been raised recently. We've been working with Cal Water. They have requested that the city can reconsider, look into potentially changing that. Again, it was a process that was back then that the city worked with the PUC to make that requirement take place. So I did want to let you know that we have had one meeting with Lonnie with Cal Water. I know I see Lonnie back there, and they have requested that we reconsider that. So what I am doing is I'm trying to gather the most current information on the topic from the Dental Association and also the Division of Drinking Water from the state, just so the council has the most current, up-to-date information on the subject, and we'll be bringing it back to the council for consideration and more discussion, because ultimately, if this is something that does take place, it's a big deal, and a lot of communication would need to be had with the impacted water users.
Would that have to go to a vote?
No, it would not.
So it's an action that we can do.
Yeah, back in the 50s, it was determined that it was essentially the council members, on behalf of their constituents, took the action, and it was an action that was taken before the PUC.
Yeah, because I believe our other two water districts do not fluoride the water, Thermalito and Feather River.
They do not.
So they don't. So okay.
Yeah, I would love for fluorination to be out So if we were to vote today, that would.
We see
Yeah.
nods.
So what I'm
yes.
trying to do is just make sure that,
Get it
and
out.
again, as conversations were had, I mean, I tried to research the topic to see what was determined back in the 50s.
I can
And
tell you
it-
right now, just put it on the agenda.
So, is that something that Lonnie can speak to now?
Well, Lonnie certainly can, but what I'm going to do is bring information back to you all so you can make the most informed, educated decision. So.
Did you want to hear something from Lonnie?
No, I can tell you right now, I've done my own research on fluorination.
Lonnie's in favor, I can tell.
It's good to put on your teeth, but it's not great to be ingested. But anyway, I don't need any from Lonnie, I appreciate it, but yeah, we don't need to lengthen the
It's in our
process. If
toothpaste.
it's within our process to make a motion and let's just put it on the agenda and.
It seems like we had this conversation
And we
a
did
year or
years
two
ago.
ago.
We've talked about it
we
a couple
did.
times. I'm absolutely in favor of putting it on the agenda and getting it out.
Second. I'll
Well,
be
it will
the
be
second.
coming before you again. I just want to make sure.
Tomorrow?
Okay.
It'll be on the,
Great.
it'll be on the
Special meeting?
agenda at an
February
at an
6th.
upcoming meeting.
February 1st and
Having
first
said
agenda.
that, depending on how
Great.
the council, decides.
Right.
Should the council decide that they would like to, request the fluoridation be removed, it's something we'd have to request the PUC to take action on and
Right, so the sooner the better is what you're saying. I agree.
Yeah, yes.
And honestly, I'm not sure what happened because it seemed like the energy, the public comments, the last time we touched this, we're all in favor of removing it. I don't know how that ball got
Who dropped the ball?
I don't know, but we're all in favor.
But
Say
certainly,
aye.
yeah, I think,
Singing to the choir.
I have one more item, but I noticed the mayor has his hand raised, so I'm not sure if that is for this topic or if he had an update.
Mr. Mayor? Mayor Pittman?
Yeah, I agree with what Councilman Thompson say. Basically, it's fine for your teeth, but we shouldn't be drinking it. Is really when you cut it down to it. But I think we were all in error thinking that it was a vote of the public, and I want to thank Lonnie for helping us find it was actually a vote of the council that did it. It was not a vote of the public, so that helped us correct that issue, and I appreciate her efforts to help us understand that.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right,
Mr. Ring.
so it will be coming soon.
At a town near you.
Yeah. I wanted to give one more update. There was the Girdler building. I know that has been a building that's
Yes.
of concern. So we had some folks look at that building, and unfortunately, and it's probably not a surprise, it needs a lot of work.
Right.
There's multiple ADA issues, structural issues, bathroom issues, the HVAC, roof, sprinklers, windows, doors. Those are all known things, and there might be some other engineering issues as well. So ultimately, it's an $800 to $1 million renovation.
Okay.
So with that, obviously, we don't have anything in the budget this year. We'll certainly be working with the council in the very near future on setting council priorities and obviously budget priorities as we work on the budget. So it can be considered in the future as we revisit our resources and what's available. Okay. Yes.
So I have a question. I'm going to try and answer this delicately. So that building, the reason why we were looking at that, it was earmarked for something else. And so it sounds like we do not have the cost of the repairs in this budget for 2024. Where does that leave this other entity? Or will we be looking at something else?
I haven't had recent conversation with them, but I know, I believe you're probably aware, they vacated the premise.
Yes.
Okay. And I will reach out to them to see what they are doing now and what their desires are and see if there's some other option that the city
Right.
may have that might be suitable.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
I'd like to be included in that conversation.
Okay?
I would too.
Okay.
Super. All right, moving right along. Additional administrative reports. Amy?
Yes, I wanted to give you guys a quick update on the status of the Mission Esperanza Pallet Shelter project.
Yes.
We are currently in the planning check process. We had submitted, not we, but they've submitted plans. The city has responded with several changes and additions that need to happen, planning-wise, building-wise. Working with the contractor, they've submitted change orders to us for those things. So we're working through that process. We have, the rescue mission has been very fortunate in that they've been able to get additional grant funding that is going to help ease our construction budget a little bit, that it's going to go to operational costs so that we should be able to cover these change orders with no problem. But we know that costs are rising, so we're just hoping that we've tackled most of it with these change orders. We're going to be bringing a couple items to council the first meeting in February, and then unfortunately, as much as we wish that it was open now with the weather, it's looking like construction probably is not going to start until the summer.
Wow.
So there's a lot of changes that have been addressed on the plan check, but if we can get sooner, it'll be better, but that's what we're projecting right now.
It was interesting. We had a meeting this afternoon on the topic, and Susie obviously is well connected and working with the rescue mission. And she, just for reference, she mentioned the same thing that I think Mr. Mayor was saying about the ability to house folks is very challenging right now. So continuing to have places for them to go as they transition from the streets to these intermediate shelters to affordable housing is a key to that success.
Councilwoman Johnstone has a question.
Thank you. So you said that building probably won't start until summer. Is that just because of the weather? No, it's because of all of the changes that need to be done. So what can we do as a city to help move that along?
Well, one of the items I'll be bringing back in February, we're going to be asking for a fee waiver, a development impact fee waiver. And then also a lot of the things are just items, if you remember the time frame that we brought it was basically a design build when we put it out to bid. So it hadn't really been, there was no time when we submitted the application to actually have a full set of plans. So that has been happening, and that has been taking some time. And then once the plans were submitted, there was extensive comments back. So the contractor has been working through those and getting pricing those and working with the architect. And so all of that has taken all this time. So we can't even start working on anything until we have permits in place, and that will, these change orders that we just talked about today, we approved them to get going, so they're going to, hopefully we'll be seeing resubmittals back soon. But once they resubmit, then city needs to review them again and make sure that there isn't anything else to need to be addressed before they issue permits. So the things that we have done, we've already ordered the pallet shelters. They're ordered, they're on their way. And so we've kind of done what we can do up to this point without getting approval from permitting, so.
Okay. Well, I would like to see us do whatever we possibly can to help benefit them, help waive whatever we can waive, whatever it's going to take to help getting this moving forward. I mean,
I appreciate that.
It's definitely a need, an immediate need, and it's going to help with a lot of different aspects that are going on with the city right now. So
agreed, and I thank you for your support on this. The one thing that we did find out is that we're going to come back and ask for a waiver of the city fees, and if that happens, that's great. But at this point, SCORE and school fees are not. They don't waive them. We were told that we can ask for a refund on school fees after we've paid the fees, which we intend to do, which the shelter will not have children in it. They will be priority to get housed. So I feel like that's a good reason to ask for a refund on that. But I don't see any way around SCOREs. So that's just, and we don't know how much those fees are yet. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And the timing was, it was opening in July, right?
That
was the estimate, but I think I heard you say construction. I just want to make sure you weren't thinking construction starting in July. It was the plan.
I did say that, so thank you.
Because they are going to, they're planning on starting construction as soon.
Yeah.
So
move in July. Yeah. Which.
Sorry, I did misspeak. Thank you.
Okay. Additional staff reports.
I have a question.
Oh, Councilwoman Goodson has a question. I think for Amy, follow up?
Yeah, it's for Amy. So my question is in regards to what is that city fee waiver that they're requesting?
So any development that comes in to the city has to pay a fee that's based on the development. So they have to do frontage improvements, pay for police, fire,
Development impact
infrastructure.
fees.
I get that.
Okay.
I'm past that.
Okay.
How much?
I don't have that number.
You don't have a ballpark?
I think it was about 26,000.
Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Appreciate it. You're always, you know. Next question, the pallets, they're on their way, right?
They've been ordered. I don't know if they're actually on the way, but yes.
And so when they do come, because everything is pushed out, it's
Mm-hmm.
delayed, where's the storage?
So we originally had talked about possibly the city courtyard, but I'm
That's
not
what I
sure
thought.
where it will be now.
It's not gonna, yeah, okay.
So-
That's a conversation for another, all right, I got you. Thank you.
You're
Super.
welcome.
All right, anything else? Okay. Chief LeGrone.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor and Council. I'd just like to invite everybody to the public safety workshop that we're going to be having this next week on the 22nd. It'll start at 8 in the morning at the community center. It will go from 8 until approximately 1 o'clock. There will be several presenters there. What we're going to do is just try to inform the public on the processes of how a call would be handled. I mean, from the beginning, from dispatch to the officer responding, to the investigative follow-up, to the prosecutorial part from the district attorney. And then we're also going to have some light training on de-escalation and biohazard, dealing with a biohazard that might be deposited in front of your business or your home somewhere, how to do that safely and what to do with it. And then ultimately at lunchtime, we'll have a light lunch, a very, very light lunch, most likely a hot dog. And, you know, I like hot dogs. I mean, so, you know, we'll have that and, you know, we'll have some donuts in the morning. So, but I'd like to invite everybody, have them there, come down, enjoy the day. I'll have all of my command staff there, you know, all of my frontline supervisors. I think it's important that they get to know the community and the community gets to know them. So they will all be there for opportunities to network and to ask questions and just to participate and learn from or at least hear what our side of where we're working from, what restrictions we have and the things that we have to do, the challenges that law enforcement currently faces.
Councilwoman Goodson has a question.
Yes, is this coming out of the OPD budget?
Yes.
Thank you.
Super. All right, moving right along. Other administrative reports.
I'll go.
Appreciate that.
So we're finishing up our audit work next week. I'm going to start right into the budget as soon as that's done. We're starting another master fee schedule review, and we want that to be an annual thing because it was really a long time in between we did the one last year. So we'll be working with all the departments and fine tuning and making our master fee schedule even better. But what we really want to talk about is the carpet, right? We started putting carpet in this morning and it looks great. We're really pleased. So I think it'd be cool. Maybe I'll send you some before and after pictures.
Yeah, it'll be striking. It's a huge improvement. It looks good. All right.
I have a quick
Mr. Mayo.
update for Bedrock Park and the Port and Lube, which has been a source for a pain in our shoe for a while. Public Works staff met with PG&E approximately 2 weeks ago out there. The application process, unfortunately, for it to be electricity to be reinduced out there, somehow it fell to the back of the line. It fell off with all the transitioning, but we've reestablished communication with PG&E, and we're tentatively scheduled to be out there mid to late June, or maybe early July to get new electricity reconnected out there for the Portland Loo. It is open, it's just it doesn't have electricity. The Portland Loo over at Centennial Park too, it has suffered quite a bit of vandalism. We've gone through door locks, we've gone through door handles repeatedly. The latest setup or layout we have on the door now, it's been successful so far. We haven't had too much damage from it since, and it's been in pretty good shape. So, and it's operational fully as well. Hopefully next council meeting, I'll have a fantastic update on our Sank Park fence as well. So I'm waiting for the latest update on that. So it's very close. Thanks.
All right. Pat?
Yes, unless Ronnie has something we've got best for last here. We're going to start a program called Civic 101. It's going to be a cohort with community members where each month a different staff member or different department head will take the lead and describe what their department does to this cohort. So one of the reasons that we're doing this is probably all of us that work for the city can testify that when we tell someone we work for a city, nobody has any idea what that means. You know, they know that people patch potholes or that there's police and fire, but they don't really understand the rest of it. Generally, people ask me if I'm a planner because that's the only other thing that they know. So the idea about this is to educate people about how cities actually work, how they function, and then the end result, what I'm hoping for is that we'll start to have people understand that the city is actually a function of themselves, an extension of themselves, that all the laws, everything that we follow, all the rules, all the guidelines that we follow have been established for us to work with inside of parameters to actually help them have better lives. So that's the idea around the whole thing. We're shooting for a March 14th as a start date. We picked a date that is not on a council week and not in a Thursday, but not the planning commission week. So by default, that ends up being March 14th. We're going to promote this out to, I think, what I was planning on doing is promoting this directly to the city ambassadors, to maybe the OCDC and the Downtown Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know how many people want to come. You know, we could end up doing it in Fireside or the State Theater, you know, depending on what sort of participation we end up getting. And then if it's successful, and hopefully it will be, then this will be something that will live on, and each year we'll do it again. And then that way we can just reach as many people as we can. And the first year will probably be I hope that we get a really good turnout for the first year, but it'll be also the year that'll help us define how we do it in the future years, and then how we make it better and more understandable and relatable. So, and then of course, you all are welcome to attend as well.
I think that's great, Pat. I think that's always beneficial to kind of pull back the curtain, so to speak, so that folks have a better understanding of how it really works back there. And I think that people would probably be somewhat surprised and that you were mentioning, like the rules, regulations, all the things that the city has to comply with. And there's a lot of moving pieces. So I think that's always, appreciative to be able to provide that another layer of transparency. Really, is what we're talking about.
That's exactly
here.
right, because everything is completely, fully transparent, and it's all known of what we do and why we do it. It's something that you can look up and see, and so this is just kind of laying it all out there in an easy way to understand. And I think Ronnie just earlier tonight gave us a really good sort of a preview of we can't just pull the tents off the street. There's restrictions to doing that. There's state law that has requirements for when you can do it and how you can do it. So it's exactly the type of thing that we'll be talking about in that cohort.
Great, thank you. Councilman Weber, I believe, has a follow-up question for Mr. Mayo.
No, I have two stories that I wanted to tell, if I could please have a moment to do so. And I was reminded when Ruth was talking about the carpets. I'll start with the story about Ruth because I would like to brag on her a little bit. But I go to Carpets Galore and I buy pad or carpet restretch supplies, whatever I need there, because I'm in the carpet business and have been for as long as I can remember, literally rolling out carpet with diapers on as a child with working with my dad. So when I walked into the hall this morning, I'm like, oh, wow, this is really reminiscent. I've done thousands upon thousands upon thousands of yards of commercial carpet all over the place. And it actually made me feel a little nostalgic, like I wanted to get down on my knees and start installing. But anyway, when I went in to buy some pad the other day, the ladies at Carpets Galore said, we were awarded the bid. And I was like, yeah, I heard. It's great. Good for you. And so they said, Ruth was amazing to work with. And so I thought that was a high praise because they deal with a lot of people and a lot of different idiosyncrasies and character and behaviors. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted to pass that on to you. And then the other story I wanted to tell you was that I had a phone call into somebody the other day that I was waiting for a return phone call, and they called me back. And I said, "What are you up to?" And they said, "Oh, we're over here working in Chico on a housing referendum with the city hall." And I said, "Oh," and he goes, "Dude, you have no idea how much of a nightmare this is over here dealing with this city hall." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You know what though, man? I don't know what you guys are doing over in Oroville, but you're doing something right, because in the last year, your building and planning department have gotten so much easier to deal with." And so they've had developers talk to them. And so and individual people to come in that say, "Hey, coming into the city hall, there's been a change. It feels like a customer service oriented environment." And I was like, "Man, you have no idea how valuable this feedback is, given that we have this council adopted that as a high priority and then passed it on to you, our city administrator, and then we hired our new staff along with our old staff, and then it's been a priority to do that." So I just wanted to also give props to Pat Pyatt for obviously, because you put yourself right up front there, you're watching what's going on, you're interacting with our citizens, and you're doing a great job. So I thought that was a pretty cool piece of information coming from them. So I just wanted to give you guys both kudos for doing such a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great here.
Yeah.
Do we have any additional administrative reports? We are done. Oh. Councilwoman Goodson?
There's a caveat here. So Pat, I really appreciate the future presentations, the 101. I think that's great. And constituents, they need that information. It's very different when you sit on this side of the dais, and the amount of information that you have to absorb, the challenges, the struggles, how you present information to the public. But one thing that I've learned sitting on council, this right here, this is ideal. This is because of the voters measure you, money that you voted in. There's always feast and famine. This is what it looks like when you're sitting on top of the world. But I hope in a part of that presentation, you let people know that everything that you see happening now, it's budget driven, and it depends on the economy. And so I would like for you to share that information as well. It can be feast or famine depending on the economy. And so that's why we continue to have to be fiscally responsible. You look for those one-time monies for fire engines and things like that. But it is, please present that opportunity to the public.
We definitely will, and we'll, on the very first meeting on the March 14th, I plan to sort of do a high-level kind of a taste of what each department will be talking about throughout the cohort. And so that would be something that, that'll be Ruth's night to shine,
Yes.
to talk about that in more detail.
Thank you.
I believe the mayor has a question or a comment.
Yeah, just I want to put a shout out to code enforcement. I'm quite familiar with the process it takes to get rid of a burned out structure, and I see the one down at 8th and Pomona just got mitigated, and I want to give a congratulations to that, because that's really what a city is all about, is making sure that mess gets cleaned up. So thanks, Mr. Belser, and thanks for your efforts to get that done.
Can I
Thank you.
piggyback off of that? Because City Works came in yesterday, right? Public Works, and they chopped down the cherry tree. It wasn't a cherry tree, but.
Anyway, thanks. Nice help.
Super. I believe that concludes our administrative reports. Moving right along to our consent calendar. Are there any items to be addressed with the consent calendar from the council? Well, good. All right. So I have a motion to accept the consent calendar as
Motion
agenda.
to accept the consent calendar.
All right.
Third.
Do we have a vote?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And if I can, Vice Mayor, the item that you just approved, the number 3 there, the acceptance of the REAP 2.0 grant, I just wanted to highlight something here. This was funding that was known and budgeted in this year's budget for construction management of the Highway 162 project. And I just want to let everyone know that this is on the chopping block with the state at the governor's desk. So we need to proceed forward as if we have these dollars, but it's on our radar now that these dollars might disappear or be reduced, unfortunately.
Which just kind of goes back to the earlier conversation about looking for dollars and ways to get some of this sidewalks, curb, gut, all these kinds of things in. So we certainly need to look for creative ways to get, and continue on with those types of projects for the folks. All right, moving right along to regular business. Item number 8, modification to the council appointment to committees, commissions, and boards.
Yes, I'll kick this one off. So at the last meeting, the Vice Mayor Smith was appointed to the Mosquito and Vector Control District Board, and we inadvertently, for that, by code, it has to be either for a 2 or 4 year appointment. So we left that off, so the recommendation is to make it a 2-year appointment. And then also, we learned that Councilmember Goodson has a conflict on the Citizen Oversight Board, so it is recommended to appoint Sean Weber as a regular member, currently serves as an alternate, and then appoint Tracy Johnstone as an alternate member for the Oversight Board.
Okay.
The mayor supports this, and yes.
Super. Any questions from the council? Do we have any blue cards on this item?
We do not.
Okay, well, can I get a motion then?
So moved.
All right, can we call for a vote?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 9, Hewitt Park Improvements Project Budget Discussion.
Is this the one we need to? If we can, there's a timing issue with an individual who is available for item for the Camino.
Oh.
Can we jump to that one?
Okay.
Actually, I just
What
texted
number?
him to let him know I was moving, and he hasn't
On
texted
Camino,
back
that
yet.
is the license, number 11, a license and
11.
purchase web-based platform designed to assist homeowners and developers through the development permitting process.
All right,
Number 11.
so let's go ahead and go to number 11, and we'll come
Thank
back
you.
to 9.
Okay. I just making sure that he was okay. He's in Colorado. Bryce Bullock is, and he's going to be doing a little presentation for us. He's been patiently waiting for his time to come up. This is a web-based product that allows people to play around with a project that they might want to do at their house or commercial project ahead of time before they come in and pull permits, before they buy the property, or that helps them understand the process. So through going through a series of clicks and kind of going through a decision tree, it can help a person understand if they need a use permit, if they're in a flood zone, and hopefully everything else that goes along the way. And then at the end of it, it'll give them a report that tells them everything that they'll need to do for the project, and along with the cost for the permits that they would have to pay. So Bryce had cold called me about a year ago, and I never take cold calls. I don't take sales calls, but some reason I did. And as he started to describe this, I realized that he was describing something that I was thinking about retiring to do. So he beat me to it. So anyway, Bryce, I'm going to let you take over and give a little presentation for us. Kayla,
good evening, Council.
Oh, there we go.
And good evening, Mayor. And yeah, thanks, Pat, for that introduction. Thanks for not, slamming the door on me when I first called you initially. It's been great collaborating with Pat over the past year or so, like he said. And yeah, I put together a short presentation of what it is that we do. Super brief. I told myself, my favorite presentations or PowerPoints are usually under 5 slides. So I tried holding myself to that same rule here. Introducing Camino and our company. We're a software company. We're founded in 2015 in San Mateo, California. Similar to what Pat alluded to, I really wanted to make this simple and talk just plainly about how we help. Some of the results that we've seen with our system end up reducing time for issuance offer shorter customer service encounter times, just an improved experience overall. Really, how we end up doing that is our system creates personalized instructions for folks that are applying for permits, business licenses, separate one-off applications that they might not be super familiar with or might not be doing all the time. We do utilize really neat GIS-based rules, and so we will be able to build in those rules and requirements that Pat and different departments have. From there, we really just offer a comprehensive starting point for folks who are applying within Oroville's EnerGov permitting system. Happy to show how that works. Some of the results we've seen, these were all pulled from case studies that we've done, data that we have. You've seen cities lessen their calls by 30%, just saving their counter staff time and giving them time to work on more comprehensive projects. The time at the counter or on the phone for staff is typically reduced. We've seen upwards of 70% for that. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, faster issuance. Here's a couple quotes just from a few of the clients that we have. We also do offer a automatic monthly value report that is sent out to each of our clients. This details all the data that's coming within the system. So it captures how many folks are actually using the platform, what some of the top trending project types are. We actually also equate the working hours of the system to all the submissions that were created outside of typical working hours. It's great to be able to show, somebody who goes on their couch when the office isn't open and wants to start a project. This is just giving them an extension of the city, like we talked about a little bit earlier. And then we equate that back to ROI. So just showing, how the system's used and ultimately how it's paying dividends.
Councilwoman Goodson has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a Q&A fact sheet?
Sorry about that. Well, a Q&A fact sheet layered within the system.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think you're spot on.
To save consumer time.
Exactly. Every guide that's created within the system is ultimately a personalized FAQ for each applicant. So it's not only personalized for the specific project that they're doing, but where they're actually doing it, what they're going to be doing, how they're going to be engaging with the city. So it creates almost like a personalized checklist specifically for them.
Thank you.
If I can kind of clarify that a little bit. So a user can go in, they can create an account, and then they can save the work that they do, and they can come back and look at it later. They can look at some other projects if they want, and they can save as many as they want. A person could also go in as a guest if they just want to go in privately, or if there's someone who hasn't purchased a property yet or they don't own it, but they're considering doing something, like say that somebody wants to build a restaurant, and they could look at this site, they put the address in, and through the decision tree, it'll start to say whether, like, what the zoning is. And then again, if they're in a flood zone, some of this has to do with how we build it out. So when we first start with it, we're going to give the Camino people some parameters to set up. They'll be overlaying the GIS, like you said. They'll be looking at our zoning codes. So when someone clicks on this is my address, it'll show them what zone they're in. It'll take them, give them a link to what the code is so that they can see what that means for them. And it'll let them know, like say in the case of a restaurant, if a restaurant could actually be allowed there. There's certain things where they'll get little notes that says you really need to talk to staff about this, because then maybe it gets a little bit too complicated or it can get confusing, and then staff can give some further direction. So it gets very specific right down to the address of what can be done at that property for what they want to do. So it could also be something as simple as, I want to do a roof, and then, what's that going to do for me? What will I have to do? It might ask questions about how many layers are already on there and if it requires a tear off, or just in what the cost will be. So, and then there could be things about, say, construction demolition, dumping requirements or fees for that type of thing. So it gives them this whole sort of layout of what what their project will mean to them. So the cost of this is $15,000 per year. There's a 3% modifier, so each year would go up 3%. They typically do a 3-year contract. We requested them to do a 2-year with us. So if the council votes to go forward with this, it commits us to a 2-year time period with it. We sort of thought that the first year would be building it and then starting to promote it. The second year would be the public using it and seeing how the public actually responds to it and if it has some value. So we would have a kiosk at the city. If someone comes in and they tell us, they're looking at it for the first time, we can help them go through it and then understand how it goes. But they can go back and do it at their house anytime they want to. Middle of the night, you wake up, gee, I wonder what it'd be like to put a room edition on. They can do this on that website.
Cool.
And it does tie in with with Energov, which we have coming up.
Doing projects like this can be scary even for those who are familiar with doing contracting and construction, and this gives anybody the opportunity to go on there at their own pace, their own speed. Like you said, it's a decision tree. Hey, I want to do a bathroom remodel. You type it in, it kind of walks you through, asks you the questions, and guides you. So at least you know what you're getting into. So if nothing else, when someone comes here, if they've gone through it first at home, they're going to be much more well-versed in the lingo and feel more comfortable and know what questions they might need to ask. And it could also be used, we were thinking, as a great training tool as we have new staff, because it's going to be tailored to the city's structure. So even for new staff who are learning the complexities behind building and planning, it could be a great tool for them as well.
So the staff member could put in the address just like a public could, and then if someone comes in with a question or calls in, Jessica at the front desk could put that in and then start to answer some questions for them right from the information that's on the site. And to piggyback on what Brian started off with, when people come in to ask questions about what they want to do, they often don't know what questions to ask. So they'll come in with an idea, they'll ask a question which doesn't tell the full story of what they want to do. So then they might go away and then they come back, they've invested some time, maybe some money, some energy. They come back and then they're ready to go, but then when the full story starts to get laid out in front of them, then the staff will say, like, well, wait a second, I didn't realize you're doing this. Now there's these other things. So this thing kind of helps them define it. It helps them understand sort of the questions that they should ask, or it actually sort of asks the questions for them. Do you live here? What are you doing? What happens here? So in this decision tree, that marches them down a path so that now they understand what the project is. Super. Did I say that right, Bryce?
I think you're spot on. Yeah, and happy to just walk through a quick example showing exactly how it looks and functions if you'd like.
I believe Councilwoman Goodson has a question.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. I'm a visual learner, and I'm wondering
Me too.
if you were to plug in an address, it would already share with the individual the zoning challenges in that area, what the square footage of what's the word I'm looking for?
It won't in this city.
A land site.
It won't in this city because it's not built out yet. He hasn't plugged it in yet, but it would do that.
But it would, and
Yeah.
it could.
It-
And
yes.
how quickly would new information be updated into this system?
So once he gets started and we give them access to GIS, then they'll overlay GIS into it. So whatever information is in GIS will be available when they put that address into the system. And then also the zoning code. So the zoning will be in there, and then when they put the address in, it'll tell them this is your zone, and then it'll give a link to the code so they can see what that means. So it's all a matter of then this whole build out period of what goes in there, and then they will show us, the staff, how to update it. So as we're going along, if someone comes in and they say, I went through this with the program and I got this far, but it didn't tell me whatever, or there was any misunderstanding, we can go in and we can put a note in there, or we can add another tile or something else that helps them direct it. So through some participation with the users, it'll help us understand what else we need to add in there. And then so over time, it can just keep getting expanded on so that it gets more and more efficient and has more information to provide.
Yeah, so I have a question, because GIS, some of that type of data is, already available when it comes to like zoning and some of those basic things. what I'm more interested in is, as a former contractor, how that facilitates my project. Communication, will this system generate email, follow-up, those types of things. When things come back from plan check, immediately, then will I be notified rather than having to call the city, hey, what's going on? Those types of pieces which really can help facilitate a project and, take a lot of frustration out for developer, our contractors, our homeowners.
So I don't, I'm going to let Bryce really follow this up, but I don't think that this project will do that. So that once they have a project started, now we're working with them through email.
I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it looks like the mayor has had his hand risen.
Oh, okay, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I don't have any way of seeing that. So, Mayor?
Yeah, my question is just from the developer investor that wants to set up an account and looking at a particular address, does that information that they build on that account become their private information, or would it be subject to a public information request and be shared? Because I'm thinking of a developer that has an idea, has money, has a property, but I want to keep that private to them. Is that a problem that you've had, or is it something that is not available to public access information?
Do you understand that question?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead. Either.
Yeah, happy to answer that. So hopefully you can see here on the shared screen, Mayor. It goes one of two ways. We do prompt users to create an account if they'd like. The benefit that gives them is it allows them to save all of their projects that they have. So, maybe I'm a contractor and I'm working with a ton of homeowners, and I want to be able to refer back to the information that I've added. I want to be able to walk a homeowner through the project I'm working on for them. Great. Maybe I want to create an account. Maybe like you said, maybe I don't necessarily want my information to be public. Maybe I'm only using the system once. We do allow users to completely use the system. It's entirely public facing as a guest. From there, they can actually save all the information that they generate, download it on their computer. We don't have their email. They don't have an account with the system. The only caveat to that, like I mentioned earlier, is they're not able to go back and access it. They would just have to generate, another guide for themselves, which is also fine.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did you have a question? Councilwoman Goodson.
Yes, part two. How much is this 2-year contract? And what account will this expenditure come out of in the event it is approved?
It's $15,000 per year. The second year, there's a modifier of 3%, so it would go up an additional just 3% on top of that 15. If we continue working with them, it would go up 3% each year.
All right.
It's based on population too. So actually, I called a reference, and they were really happy with it. They're paying double what we're paying, what our cost is, because our population's bigger.
And so, what account would this come out of?
Yes.
Touche. Do we have that answer?
I think
Ruth?
this first year it could come out of the community development account. We have some savings from a lack of staff.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the next year we can put it in the budget. Does that sound right, Ruth?
Yeah. Yep,
Yep.
that sounds good.
No.
Building or planning budget, which one ever fits the best, so.
So I just have a follow-up question. So you spoke about the fees being paid. Will this then also track for that homeowner, developer, other fees that are being paid, like your school fees, which were mentioned earlier, park fees, those types of things? And so is there a way to keep dibs on a track of that as well? And then the payment, is it credit card, is it ACH?
Everything else is after the fact. So this is a discovery tool to help a person guide them, walk through their project to see what it'll be like if they proceed. Once they have their report, it'll show them what their fees will be. So we'll build in the school fees for if that applies, or the EDUs if that applies to their project. But once they've completed it, it doesn't move forward with them. it's, you know, it's really, it's the discovery tool. So after that, it would be EnerGov. They would be storing all of that information, and it would hold it on to the property and what the costs were, what was spent, the history of the projects for that property.
Great. Oh, Councilwoman Riggs.
Thank you. I just have one concern, as we keep saying, it'll show our fees, show the fees. It indicates these are estimated fees. Not, I don't want somebody to show up 6 months later after we've done a master fee schedule and have estimated fees that aren't in line with.
That's a great point, because they will change over time. We'll update them when they start, but if someone was to look at this in 24 and they don't do a project till 25, it might be different. So I'll make sure that we put that in there as a note.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Great. Do we have any?
That is absolutely something we can layer in. Just wanted to second that as well.
Do we have any additional follow-up questions? Any public comments?
None submitted.
What account is it coming from? All right, well,
Do we need a motion for this?
yes, we
All right, I
do.
motion to direct staff to execute an agreement with Camino
Second?
Year.
for 2 years as agenda sized.
Do we have a second?
Oh, second.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you.
be looking forward to
That was
facilitating, all these
New
these
idea.
projects.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, going to walk back to item number 9, which is the Hewitt Park Improvements Project Budget Discussion.
Okay.
Back in your court.
Back in my
We
court.
just can't get rid of you tonight.
No, I just tried it.
Not that we're trying.
At the last council meeting, we brought to you a request to pre-purchase some equipment and some materials to save some money. So I thought that I should bring back, before we actually start making those payments to those purchases, and inform the council that we are estimating that the project is over budget from the grant funds that we've awarded. The rising costs of materials, transportation, labor, all of that has gone up significantly since the grant application was submitted. So we're estimating that the project is roughly $1.5 million over the grant amount.
Wow.
So the money, if we were to go forward with this, would come out of the Parks Development Impact Fund. There's $2.4 million in that fund. So that will cover the costs. It won't hit the general fund. However, the alternative, so there's two alternatives. One, don't pre-purchase. Not pre-purchasing means that we don't get the discount that we're shooting for. It also means that the project will take a little bit longer, because part of the pre-purchase thing is to get ahead of the delivery time. The other thing is to approve it now, look to see what happens when the bids come back, because again, the $1.5 million over is an estimate. It's not, we don't have bids yet. So we won't know the real numbers until the bids come back. So the other thing that we could do is once we make the purchases, we've made the purchases, so we can't return them at that point. So what I'm seeking tonight is council direction on if you would like to move forward with all the amenities that Melton Designs had presented at the last council meeting, and go ahead with the pre-purchases, and hope that we come in at $1.5 million over, and use the development impact funds to pay for that, for the entirety of the park.
Councilwoman Riggs has a question.
Might be a statement. That as somebody who spent a lot of time in the meetings talking about the amenities that would go into this park, I am in favor in moving forward with the amenities that we've discussed, including the additional play structure we talked about briefly during our last meeting. And also that the park impact fees, those are developed to create robust parks. And so for me, that additional funding coming from that makes sense. That if we get 4.5 million from the state, it's reasonable that we need to have, that we may have expenditures from our park impact fees. And I still want that second play structure.
I did talk to Aubrey right after that, or the following day. So I asked what that might cost. They said that we could probably get one, the type that you were sort of asking about, for about $50,000-$60,000. However, she said that she added some things onto the existing play structure. They really feel like the one play structure they have, because it's so expansive, and with the things they added down below, that it might have covered what you wanted. So maybe we could have a meeting with them and we can decide if you'd still think that that'd be a good idea. Okay. Okay.
Councilman Weber?
Yeah, thank you. I want to echo the sentiments of Councilmember Riggs as well. I think that it's well worth the investment to have that robust park like she just described, and this is definitely going to be a major addition to our city. I also want to reiterate my my concern that we make sure that we get those engines repainted. And like I want to also reiterate that there is a large group of citizens that would love to do that. Then I think we could probably figure out how to get that done, get those things cleaned up and then painted without having to do a bunch of prevailing wage stuff if it was volunteer based. So I'd love to explore that. I'd also like to explore the barbecues for sure, like were discussed at the last meeting. And then just as a thought, I was just kind of thinking about when Councilmember Riggs was talking with the fee that comes out. Could we use some of that fee to hire, some sort of MLE like security that can be funded through that to patrol these?
We can't do that. The development
For
impact
development
fees,
only.
right?
Okay,
It's
all right.
they're for one-time expenses.
Okay.
They're not for ongoing expenses.
Okay, all right. I figured it was a long shot, but I was going to try anyway. So, all right, thank you.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Try.
Yeah, and just a follow-up on the funding from the parks fee that we have, or those dollars. Isn't that, well, of course, this is new construction. Never mind, I'm answering my own question. So, Councilwoman Goodson.
So did we clear that up? Those are restricted funds? Okay. Moving on, and that was my question, was in regards to what was the decision made on the barbecue area with the acknowledgement of the challenges? Because those challenges are in every park.
Well, we can explore that as we go forward. So we have those options of taking them off every night, having them being removable. If we feel like that's what we need to do, we could just have them be in place. We can have them installed and see what happens, see what we do with it once they're installed. The park is going to be locked up at night. We're going to have
That's what I'm thinking.
a fence around the whole
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
In the grand scheme of things, nobody wants to just waste money, but the barbecues are a good thing to have in a park. So if we were to find out, unfortunately, at some point that just doesn't work, it's not the hugest loss that we would ever take.
All right, and so.
So I have a comment and a follow-up question with this. I mean, obviously, we just had this presentation. It was an amazing presentation. Everybody was excited. And then now we're kind of getting this,
I wish I could have done it the other way around, but I wanted to let him go.
The other shoes, feels like the budget shoe's dropping here. And so just from the staff perspective, are you just kind of like preemptively anticipating, you see this coming? And so looking to us, because my inclination is just to continue on and let those bids happen organically as planned, and then we can kind of then evaluate at that point, because as you said, it's just a budget. We really don't know where that's going to go, but you're kind of putting us on notice. We might have some shortfalls here, and then to ask the question of you from a planning standpoint. So we're short X amount of dollars, and maybe a piece of that park isn't able to be completed, hypothetically. And so are you concerned that within the overall plan architecture of the park, if that were to happen, that could be problematic? Is that a concern, kind of the back of your mind? I'm just trying to like pick your brain a little bit.
Well, it was to council's discretion, because if that is an option, we can cut things off right now. We could say no to the water feature. The thing is, when I go through all of the items, I know you all want all those items, so
Right, Yep.
I
right.
couldn't come here with any recommendations to say, let's cut this out, because everything, y'all want everything that's on there, so. So it was just to lay it out to the council to say, here's the situation that we're in. So if we cut them out now, then they're cut out, and those costs are reduced. If we don't cut them out right now and we don't purchase them now, but we wait to see what happens, then we don't get the savings, and it could take longer because there's a lead time to actually purchase them, have them built and delivered. And then, or we go forward with it as right now, and we take the savings that can be provided by the pre-purchase, and we don't have the ability to cut them out later.
Yeah, ultimately, if I may, Pat and I were talking about this last week, and this was frankly, this was a last minute add to the agenda, because this project's been in the queue for quite some time, and it's challenging sometimes when you weren't here when the project was initiated. So we don't know what was approved, so we talked to staff that were here, and they all said, yeah, we pretty sure that the intent was that the grant was going to fund the entire project. So with that, we are not going to go and spend $1 million on equipment or whatever it is, locking us in to being 1.5 million potentially over budget without at least having a conversation with the council.
Yeah. Just in my comment to that, the only thing I don't like about the pre-purchase is that now they know they got you, the contractor. You know what I'm saying? So now they know we've bought that equipment, and there's less inclination there to be competitive when it comes to bidding out that project, downline, so to speak.
Well, they still have to, it's a public works project, basically, so we have to choose the lowest bidder. So they still have an incentive to sharpen their pencils and make sure that they're beating out the next contractor. So I don't personally think that that's really such a big concern. It's really just more that if we make the purchase, we've made the purchase. We can't.
We're in the game.
We can't return a fountain. Yeah.
Yeah, you have limitations on what you can reduce in the future if you choose to go down that path once we purchase these.
Sure, absolutely. Do we have any public comments? Or is the council complete with questions?
The mayor.
Sorry, Mr.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, yes.
He would like to speak.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the conversation. I go for what Councilman Riggs and Councilman Weber say. The robust park is what the public should have. I look at the park impact fees for every dollar of impact fees were collected. With the grant, we're multiplying those dollars. So at the end of the day, we're getting a great project with the grant money and the impact fee money. We're really redoubling every dollar we have in that impact fee fund, and we can't spend that impact fee fund on anything else but the improvement of the park. So I go with it, and I think we have enough staff in place to make sure every dollar spent is well spent, and we end up with a great project.
Okay.
Super, thank you. I agree.
I do too.
Councilman Weber.
Yeah, just a fast comment to piggyback off of our mayor's comments. An investment in this park in this fashion is an investment into our families, an investment in our community, and that's an investment into the future of Oroville for all of us. So this seems to me like this is an extremely good way for us to invest this money.
Okay, we finished? Okay. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion at this time.
I move that we continue with the design as presented.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, vote.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Super. Moving on to item number 10, acceptance of Cal Water Annual Firefighter Grant and recognition of Cal Water.
We made it.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I got a script here in front of me, so mind my vision here. I don't want to go off topic. You can tell my report was a little lengthy. I'm a little passionate about these things. It adds a little layer of protection of safety for our firefighters. What you have in front of you tonight is acceptance of the Cal Water Annual Firefighter Grant and recognition of Cal Water. Last year, Oroville Fire Department secured a $10,000 grant from Cal Water to purchase 10 handheld thermal imaging cameras. If approved, the grant will equip every on-duty Oroville firefighter with a thermal imaging camera, enhancing our firefighters' capabilities in emergency situations. The cameras play a vital role in monitoring fire spread and evaluating firefighting conditions, contributing to proactive approach to modern firefighting. So this is that layer of protection or safety for the firefighters that I mentioned. Each one of the Oroville firefighters that are stationed here, I just want to be clear, it's not going to be every firefighter in Butte County, but the firefighters here that will be assigned to the Oroville City Station will each have a thermal imaging camera. Going back a little bit of history, these cameras are very expensive. As technology's evolved, they've gotten a little bit more cheaper and they shrink. My first thermal imaging camera was about $35,000 20 years ago, and it was about this big, and there was only one of them, and you kind of walked around in your structure fire, right? But each one of these firefighters will have their own, and they'll be able to see the temperature in the house and potential victims that may be trapped as well. Oroville Fire Department would like to express gratitude to Cal Water for their commitment to community safety through initiatives like this firefighter grant program. And then, Mr. Ring, if you want to help me a little bit towards the end, I just want to make sure that I get the recommendation correctly. So to recommend the annual grant, but also authorize the purchase. The fund should come in around Q1. And that's it. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions? No. Do we have any blue comment cards?
We do not.
Okay, so we need a motion on this?
And
To
many
accept-
thanks to Cal Water.
Yes,
Yes, thank you,
absolutely.
Cal Water.
Thank you, Lonnie. Yeah. Super. So we need a motion then to accept the Cal Water grant
So moved.
and make
And
the
make
and
the
make the
purchase.
purchase of the
There you
equipment,
go.
correct?
Thank you, yes.
So you so moved it?
Yeah. Ms.
It's
Goodson, you
been
good with
so-
that second part?
Absolutely.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right, vote.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right.
Okay, I believe we're back to public communications, and do we have any blue cards that have come in since the meeting started?
There have been none.
Okay, on to future agenda items and correspondence. Do we have any future agenda items?
The Gateway Project.
Okay. All right. Councilman Weber.
Yeah, I just wanted to, something I forgot to say earlier when I was talking about the carpet, and I'm kind of an expert in the area of flooring and floor maintenance. And so what I would like to suggest to staff is enter into an annual cleaning contract with the local carpet cleaning company. I can't do it, even though, obviously I can't. So, but somebody, a local provider here, can definitely do it. And I would suggest you guys do it at least minimum twice a year, at least 3 times a year. Because what that'll do is maintain the carpet for a very, very long time. So you get the maximum amount of life out of it. So, thank you.
All right. Super, thank you. I think we are done. We're going to adjourn this meeting to our regular schedule of February 6th, 2024. We are adjourned at 7:04.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.